Mavuika from Genshin and Augusta from Wuthering Waves are two characters who look kinda similar, and based on their available story quest, it's a little bit more than just their red hair color. As a result of their similarity, there's been lots of debate, insult, and conversation about these two characters. Today, I would like to condense the discourse into a simple question. Who is the best redhead war goddess waifu? And you might already have one of these ladies in mind, but in all likelihood, you're wrong. But we're jumping the gun just a little here, so let's take a step back. First, what are we even looking for? We actually see a lot of redhead warrior women in media, like, for example, Urza Scarlet from Fairy Tail, Asuka from Evangelion, and Mitsuru Kirijo from Persona. These characters do have their differences, but they're all ultimately the embodiment of the color red, which is to say that they have a fierce and headstrong personality, with a sharper and bolder appearance in order to reinforce it. So, for our redhead warrior goddesses Mavuika and Augusta, we can hope to see some sort of strength and fire in both personality and in appearance, but with a little extra touches to make them more godly on top of it. So, let's discuss their merits across three categories: visuals, personality, and gameplay. Visuals. Augusta is the F4, the leader of Septimont. She's not technically a god, but this is pretty close. She is dressed in a golden chest plate with long, flowing, and semi-transparent robing, a short red shoulder cape, and plenty of turges, those dangly strap pieces you see in ancient Roman gear. She also has a sun symbol plastered onto her forehead. And of course, there's the long red hair. She's almost exactly as you'd expect of a Greco-Roman goddess. And since her world of Septimont is Roman-inspired, this makes perfect visual sense. Meanwhile, Mavuika is the Archon, which is a sort of god. Visually, she has long red hair, sun symbols, tribal symbols, and a sleek biker suit. Yep, she's a biker. It does have a bold look to it, but it's probably not what you'd expect from a fire goddess. However, since Mavuika is Maori inspired, and since biker gangs are popular in modern Maori culture, we could argue that it makes sense in this specific way. So, both of these ladies do have some red-coded vibes to their visuals, but you might say that Augusta is the more classical image of a goddess, whereas Mavuika is the more modernized version. Personality. Spoiler alert for a moment here. Spoiler alert. Mavuika's personality is a little bit soft. She's much more of a philosopher king than an outright warrior. Oftentimes, she tries to think through the situation and come to a reasoned-out solution, while also taking into consideration other people's feelings. Oh, God. She wants to be a fair ruler, but she is also very headstrong and confident in herself to the point where she is willing to risk her life in order to achieve her goals, and she is also borderline uninterested in hearing other solutions or getting help. Augusta's personality is a little bit similar. She is a headstrong warrior who's willing to put her life on the line in order to be strong enough to protect others, quote unquote. Her origin story is that she wanted to overthrow the dirty bourgeoisie who sat idly by while her village was destroyed. And now that she has achieved that and become the ruler of Septimont, she continues to ensure that everyone lives in fairness. And she even goes so far as to tell people that they should pledge their allegiance to Septimont and not to herself. But she is also even further willing to risk her own life and of course wants to burden the heavy responsibilities all by herself. So, these two are surprisingly similar in both personality and the story representations. Here's a few ways that they're similar. They're both willing to sacrifice their lives. They push others away in order to shoulder the burden alone. Memories of the past guide them, and they are both open-minded enough that they actually team up with a person who was originally presented as the opposition. The only real difference is that Genshin is a softer world, and Mavuika reflects that. Meanwhile, Wuthering Waves is a depressing world, and Augusta reflects that. Gameplay. Augusta uses a Giga Sword, and also some sort of magnetic forte power. Together, these will produce a combat style nothing short of godly. She has incredible power, and the weight of her swings with the Giga Sword are visually impressive, with electric energy crackling all over. And, of course, it also deals massive damage. Mavuika is also a big damage dealer. She's primarily locked into her motorcycle, which is incredibly powerful, but as far as gods go, it's a little bit awkward. But just in terms of gameplay alone, she is visually impressive, spitting fire all over the place, and she is a powerhouse who sits at the top of the tier lists. Both are powerful game characters. But in terms of the image of godliness, it's just a little bit unusual for a biker to be here. It's cool in its own way, but given the context of these characters, swinging a giant sword seems a little more apt. Conclusion. So, we have covered visuals, personality, and gameplay. Now, let's return to the question at hand. Who is the best redhead war goddess waifu? I'll give you a moment to think about the answer for yourself. And time's up. If you answered Mavuika, sorry, you're wrong. If you answered Augusta, sorry, but you're also wrong. Because the correct answer was our secret third contender, Vera Giravor. Vera is from Punishing Grey Raven. She is the leader of Cerberus, a military task force composed of cyborg robot women who serve as soldiers during a futuristic apocalypse scenario. Vera has a few different bodies she can swap between, but this one is Giravor, based on the Norse Valkyrie of the same name. Visually, everything about her reinforces the image of a god. Winged helmet, white clothing, and golden wings all set onto a perfect body. Everything's here, and it's all been spruced up just a little bit to deal with the futuristic vibes that fits into her world space. It's certainly more godly than a biker suit, though it's a close call when it comes to Augusta and her outfit. But it is Vera's persona that's really gonna sell it. Vera has actually been present for years within the storyline, during which she has revealed to us a vicious mommy persona who isn't just willing to fight to the death, but wants to fight to the death. And her voice and facial expressions will only further endorse that personality. Just take a listen for yourself.
Oh, are you begging? Kneel before me.
Woof. And really, a redhead warrior goddess ought to have that violent and fierce personality. So I'd argue that Vera's persona better suits the role than the thoughtful diplomats Mavuika and Augusta. And her combat? She uses a spear, just like the Norse Valkyrie, which can unleash a lot of damage with all sorts of dark, flaming magical effects splattering all over the screen. And when she's at the peak of her power, she breaks the spear in half and uses it as 2 swords. But more important than anything else is that Vera is into it. The violence, the bloodshed, the death. It's all her domain, and she owns it through the voice lines, facial expressions, and the dark nature of the visual effects. Augusta and Mavuika never stood a chance. It's hard to beat this full package that Vera is presenting. It's got it all, and it all says fierce, and it all says strong, and it all says warrior goddess. So when it comes to who is the best redhead war goddess waifu, we have one simple answer: Vera. And if you disagree, it's probably because you've been kicked in the head by a horse. So I'll be praying for your recovery. So until then, thanks for listening.